Hello, and welcome to today's show, Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess, international leadership expert and trusted advisor. Welcome to Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. I want to give a great big thank you and shout out to all of you listening today all around the world. I'm delighted and so grateful that you joined me. Now, I want to let you know that I have made a few changes to my podcast. The first change is that I want you to know a little bit more about me and why you can now find my podcasts under the heading of management on some of our listening platforms. That's right. Now, I know this won't be news to my regular listeners, but if you're just finding me and tuning in for the very first time, I want to let you know that I am a leader and an entrepreneur and an artist. Now, I have founded or co-founded not one, not two, but 3 successful businesses. Woohoo! In fact, I've been an entrepreneur for over 25 years. Before that, I worked in corporate America. I also worked in higher education as an administrator and as a professor. In fact, I still do a little professing every now and then. I'm also a founding partner with the John Maxwell team, and I'm one of their faculty members as well. So, if you need a dynamic speaker to open or close a conference or another kind of event, or if you need a caring and experienced coach, or perhaps you need a trusted advisor, a thought partner to walk alongside you to help you with your strategic work or to develop the leaders in your organization, then drop me a note and let's talk about how I can serve you and add value to you and your team. You can connect with me via email, and that email address is info, I-N-F-O, @gloriaburgess.com. That's right, info@gloriaburgess.com. Or you can connect with me via LinkedIn or on Facebook. Now on LinkedIn, you just look me up. I'm Dr. Gloria J. Burgess. And later on in this podcast, I'll tell you how to easily find me on Facebook. All right? Again, I'm delighted and so grateful that you joined me today. I sure hope you're enjoying a fabulous day and that you're having a fantastic week. Because you know what? In the grand song of the universe, life is very short. It's short and sweet and very, very precious. So I hope you're making a difference in your own life. Because you know what? When you do, you also make a difference in someone else's life. Now, a lot of folks really want to make their life count for something, but they don't know how, or it just seems so big and overwhelming, they just don't know how or where to begin. So they ask me, Dr. Gloria, how do you do that? How do you make your life count? Well, let me tell you, it is very simple. Very, very simple. You make your life count. Day by day, step by step, smile by smile, every single day, 365, 24/7. You make your life count by being there for someone who needs you, by being an encourager, an inspirer, an uplifter, by reaching out to someone on your team or someone in your organization, in your community. Or when you're at home, you can reach out to a neighbor. Or even closer to home, you can call your mom or your dad, right? Or your sister or brother and simply tell them, you know what, I am calling you today, not because I want to have a lengthy conversation necessarily, but I am calling simply to say, I love you. Or you can turn off your digital media, your social media, for a while, and use that time to write someone a thoughtful card or note. I know I just love getting handwritten notes. they're such a wonderful sight in your mailbox, right? In the middle of that stack of bills or right in the middle of those folds of junk mail. Wow, you have this handwritten note card. You can send somebody a beautiful image or a photo or a link to a beautiful song. And if you're like me, you can go out into your deck or yard and pick a handful of herbs or flowers, right? And you know what? You write that note or card, you pick that bunch of herbs or flowers, not because it's a special occasion like a birthday or anniversary. You simply hold someone's hand or share your smile or write that thank you note. Okay? You can give someone a bunch of flowers just because. That's right. Just because. Now, those just because moments are the ones that I love the most. Can I just tell you something? Those simple, loving acts of kindness and caring and compassion and generosity make a huge difference in my life. You can make a difference too. You can make a difference simply by being grateful. Grateful for who you are. Grateful for whose you are. And by being grateful that when you know whose you are, you can lead. That's right. You can lead with steadiness, with courage, with confidence. You can lead with mastery through any situation. Now, let me just stop right there for a moment, okay? Some of you I know may not even think of yourself as a leader, but can I just tell you something? Maybe you are a teacher or a nurse or a doctor. Maybe you're like me, you're an entrepreneur and an artist, or you're a student in college or high school and you have no idea of what you want to be or who you want to be or what you want to do after you graduate. Well, it doesn't matter what you do in your professional life, and it doesn't matter what life stage you're in. You are a leader. How can I say that with such boldness and assurance and confidence? Here's how. If you are alive and participating in this great adventure we call life, if you have a pulse, if you have breath in your body, then you are a leader. Now, maybe you're the only person you're leading at the moment, but somebody has to be in charge of you, right? And that's you. You are in charge of yourself, right? So, you can make a difference in your own life, and you can also make a difference in someone else's life. When you know how to lead yourself, you can actually transfer that knowledge. You can transfer those skills so that you can lead in any circumstance. Now, today we're going to talk about how to do just that. Specifically, we're going to talk about leading with perseverance. Because if you can do that, if you can lead with perseverance, then you will be equipped to lead yourself and others in any other situation that comes up in your life. Now remember, you've heard me say this many, many times, how you live is how you lead, right? So what you're going to hear about today, you can also apply it in your daily life as well. What I'm going to share with you today is a wonderful example of what legacy living, make your life count, is all about. Now, before I delve into today's podcast, let me remind you, you can learn more about legacy living, make your life count by visiting the Gloria Burgess website. That's Gloria, Gloria, Burgess, B as in boy, URGESS.com, the Gloria Burgess website. And, as I've mentioned before, if you love to be inspired, you can actually subscribe to my inspirations right on my website. Just scroll down a little bit, look on the right sidebar until you see the place to add your email address to subscribe to my weekly inspirations. It's that simple. Each week, you get a lovely photograph and a short quotation that inspires you. Or by visiting Facebook. And that's facebook.com/Dr. Gloria Burgess, PhD /. Okay? And doctor is abbreviated there, so it's DR, my name, DR Gloria Burgess, PhD /. Now, more about leading with perseverance. Now, I just want to say that we are in the process of creating a new narrative, a new story. Okay? And that narrative is about leading with perseverance. More than that, it's about leading with creativity, leading with creative perseverance. Now, I'm so excited and delighted to share this with you today because it's kind of a mashup of several topics that are near and dear to my heart. Leading, creativity, and perseverance. Now, these topics are near and dear, and they're also key chapters for me in my own journey as a leader, as an artist, as a parent, as a daughter, as a wife, as an entrepreneur, as a community servant. This new story, this new narrative that we're creating is pressing because finally, more of us know that to lead well in the 21st century, you need to be equipped, consciously equipped, as co-creators of whatever is coming next. So this new story, this new narrative puts leadership, creativity, art, and artistry back where they belong. Not on the margins, right? But at the center, at the very core of our spiritual, social, cultural, political, and economic lives. In fact, this story joins creativity, art, and artistry with leadership because that's precisely what it will take to lead well, to lead with empathy, to lead with humility, with hospitality, with courage, and sustainability and imagination in the 21st century and beyond. Now, many years ago, one of my mentors shared with me, she said, in the Appalachian Hill Country in the United States, there's a lovely way that some people, especially some of the older people, there's a lovely way they still convey and welcome you when they greet you at their door. Rather than say, hello, how are you, Maya or Sammy? Rather than saying, welcome, Michael or Lauren, they'll greet you by saying, what's working ya? That's right. What's working ya? So today, I want to share with you that in my journey as a leader, entrepreneur, and artist, I have been working at the intersection of leadership, creativity, artistry, and spirituality for 30 plus years. So this really feels like home to me, right? And I want to share with you as a way to consider leadership and artistry as a way of being, thinking, and moving through the world, a way that has helped me as a creative, as an artist, and as a leader. It's something I've written about in all of my books, and something I continue to write about. Now, one of those books is called Dare to Wear Your Soul on the Outside, Live Your Legacy Now. In this book, I write about what's working me, right? I write about the art of persevering, and I specifically write about the art of persevering with whatever it is that's working you. Now, what's been working me for the past 25 years or so is not only perseverance, but it's been working me in my life as a leader, consultant, coach, professor, entrepreneur, as well as in my more artistic life, my writing life, my singing life, my making music life, my parenting life. What's been working me is this invisible matrix, this invisible armature that rules our lives as human beings. Now, I mean rules our lives. I'm going to share a bit about this resource with you, this armature. Because when you understand how powerful it is, you can actually harness that power and use it to make your life and work better and help others do exactly the same. So, before I delve into that armature, I want to make one thing perfectly clear. We are all creative. If you have breath in your body, if you still have a pulse, right? If you're participating in life, you're a leader and you're also creative. Now let's talk about making that invisible framework, that invisible armature, visible. That's what I want to focus on with you today. I want to shine the light right there so you can easily recognize and more readily amplify the power of this incredible framework in your own life and in your own leadership. Now there are 7 pieces, there are 7 dimensions, 7 aspects to this armature. I'm going to have time to really talk with you about one of them today, but I'm going to name them all. So this would be a good time, if you want to take notes, to grab a piece of paper, grab your iPad, grab your phone, okay, and take some notes. So some of these dimensions will sound familiar to you, especially if you're a writer, a painter, a professor, a doctor, a gardener, a dancer, a student, a college administrator, a plumber, a firefighter, police officer, a community servant. Now that covers a lot of ground, doesn't it? Right? So again, I just want to underscore, whoever you are and whatever you do, you're going to recognize the pieces of this armature. You will recognize them as creative principles or creative tenets. And some of you will recognize them within the framework of creativity, but maybe, some of you learned about what I'm going to talk about elsewhere. So you may put what I'm talking about in an entirely different context, and that's okay. Here's what I've learned and chronicled in my own life. In fact, this is what my research is about in my professing life, right? I call the 7 dimensions, or the 7 aspect, I call them 7 promises. Why? Because they're actually, I'm going to say, covenants that we make to ourselves, to one another, and to God. So when I talk about the armature, I'm referring to these 7 principles, these 7 promises. And I want you to be more aware of them so that you can harness their power. So here they are. The 7 promises are gratitude, faith, love, vision, integrity, creative action, and legacy. I'm going to say those again. Gratitude, faith, love, vision, integrity, creative action, and legacy. Now, today we'll have time to focus on one of these promises. So I want to shine the light on vision. And before I talk about vision, I want you to know that all of the promises work together. Just as we have a band or an orchestra with lots of different musicians, lots of different instruments, right? They all work together to form an ensemble. They all work together, and the promises are exactly the same way. They are resources that work together to support us in our leadership, to support our creativity, and to support us as we keep on keeping on, as we persevere, right? They are ever-present resources we can tap into, we can draw on them in our day-to-day living and in our day-to-day, moment-to-moment lives as leaders. This is the invisible matrix, okay, that I talked about earlier. So how do we make them visible? Let's make vision visible. So what do we mean by vision? Well, vision is the big idea of what you want to do with your team, your organization, your community, or maybe even yourself, right? So it's the big idea, not the little baby ideas, but the grand idea. And vision is not only about what you want to accomplish, it's also about how do you want to go about it. So it's a process as well. All right? So we talk about vision as what and how, but it's more than that as well. Okay? Vision also includes who. So when you're casting or sharing a vision, good questions to ask are, who will go with me? Who will go with me on this journey, right? And who will I encounter along the way? Who will I partner with? Who will I collaborate with out there? There's a lovely African wisdom saying that goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I love that, right? If you want to go fast, go all by yourself, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And I'm saying that anything worth doing is worth doing together. Now, here's the really cool thing about vision. You don't have to see the whole shebang. You don't have to see the whole vision all at once, right? Here's what I know. Your vision will evolve as you move into it, as you move towards it. So naturally, it will morph and shapeshift along the way. So be open to what is revealed to you along that journey. Don't get stuck on the vision that you happen to begin with, right? Why? Because that vision, the one you begin with, the one you start with, may no longer be relevant tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. And this is true whether we're leading in a time of difficulty or not. So remember, you can have your vision, but always keep your knees bent as you breathe and live into it. And another thing to remember is this. Don't get attached to the particular way your vision will manifest. Okay? Be open to outcome. In other words, keep your knees bent. Now, one of the many lessons I've learned from being an educator is that you have to be a guide on the side, not a sage on the stage, right? A guide on the side, not a sage on the stage. You have to see your students, okay, whether they're grade school, middle school, high school, okay? Doesn't matter. I work with adults, right? And you have to see these students as highly capable human beings, highly capable learners, capable individuals who can share their knowledge and experience and other resources with you and others. You also have to see your students as highly capable ambassadors who can take their learning and take their expertise and apply it in the real world, in real time, in their teams, in their organizations, and in their communities. I often apply these lessons when I work with my clients as well, right? So even though many of them say they want me to work with them because I'm an expert in this or that, what they really want and what they really value is when I help them discover their own solutions, when I help them unpack their own knowledge, and when I help them tap into their own resourcefulness. It all boils down to helping them find their own path to their own vision of what's possible. So let's talk a little bit more about vision. Vision has all kinds of dimensions to it that we need to pay attention to. Now, from a cultural perspective, we tend to talk about vision as if we can literally see something, right? See something with our anatomical eyes. But in reality, what you usually see is a fog, right? And if you don't, you should be seeing fog. Because if what you see is really clear to you, it's not a vision. It's not a dream. Hey, it's a goal, right? Vision has many different aspects, many dimensions, and some of the aspects I just want to say a little bit about right now. So vision consists of perception, okay, how we take things in. Vision consists of insight and foresight and hindsight and reflection and revelation and so much more, including, now listen to this, respect. Respect. Respect, that means actually to look again, to re-see, right? To see with new eyes and to see with a fresh perspective. So I invite you to think about the various aspects of vision and to think about not only what's working you with regard to vision, but also pay attention to what's working the people around you, nearby or far away. Because the world really is at our fingertips these days, right? The world is just a click away. So pay attention to what's showing up for other people. Because those people are your potential collaborators. They're your potential amplifiers. They're people who potentially can be of service to you. Or maybe, just maybe, these are the people you can be of service to as well, right? Who knows? But pay attention. And know that if you have this creative fire that's working you, know that when we are made, okay, we're made not to walk alone, but we're made to walk together. We're social beings. We're made to be in relationships. So pay attention to people who you can just link elbows with and maybe even partner with along the way. In other words, don't try to take a vision and do it all by yourself, right? I mean, that's a recipe for failure, a recipe for disaster. Been there, done that, got the hood. And so you need to ask yourself, if that's you, you want to go it by yourself, you need to ask yourself, how's that working for me, right? You know what? Vision also includes night dreams. In the workplace, we don't often talk about that, but this is really huge. So listen up. It's very important because in visioning, there's a big element of receptivity. That's right. Of being on the receiving side of vision. Now, in the Northern Hemisphere, Western cultures, we typically think about vision as something that's outward flowing, right? Vision is something that pushes out and is really kind of external to who you are. We talk about vision as being very penetrating, being very active, which is a very masculine kind of energetic, right? But another core quality that we sometimes miss is that vision can also flow towards us. It can flow inwardly. So vision is also about receiving. And if you're receiving, you are a receptor, a gatherer, a collector, right? Okay, so this is not about outputting the vision, but about being still and being that receptor, okay, which is a more feminine energetic. It's an energetic that's probably more in tune with people who are very sensitive, very sensate, okay, in terms of how they move through the world, in terms of how they understand the world, and how they make sense of things in the world. This receiving energetic helps us tap into yet another aspect of vision, which is revelation. Now, I mentioned that earlier, right? But this is information. These are images. These are sensations that are being revealed to us, okay? So flowing inwardly towards us. Now, here's some really good news. The archetype of the 21st century leader is, guess what? It is the archetype of the visionary. Other names for this archetype is artist and creative. Now, this archetype has been around since human beings have been on the planet. And in times of great change or upheaval or transition or disruption or transformation, humanity can actually tap into this pattern, this archetype, to shift the way in which we do things, to actually shift how we show up as human beings. In fact, we can choose to show up as human beings rather than doing humans, right? That is so good. I'm going to say that one again. We can choose to show up as human beings rather than as doing humans. In fact, I just got off a call where we talked about that, where you have to just kind of slow down enough to realize that being, okay, is just as important, if not more important, than doing, right? So during times of great change, great transition, we have this pattern in human behavior that we can tap into. And that pattern is the pattern or the archetype of the visionary or the artist or the creative. And the really good news is that that archetype is now available to more people and available to more leaders who are now more open and more receptive, right? Because they're more conscious of this amazing archetype. What's working me today is creative perseverance. Specifically leading with creative perseverance in our extraordinary times. These are surely VUCA times. That's right, I said VUCA, V-U-C-A. Now, for those of you who might be new to that term, VUCA simply means volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity. Times where, again, we experience these wave after wave after wave of disruptive change. Okay? And wave after wave after wave of what we know, of what we're familiar with, right? Just gets stripped away. Just falls away, falls apart. So in this kind of a world, what we know for sure is that volatility, uncertainty, chaos, and ambiguity, VUCA, will continue to be the norm. What we don't know is what form or what shape it will take. And let me tell you something else. This is not new. I mean, VUCA is not new, right? It's happened numerous times in the history of humankind. And it has happened throughout the history of the world. What our world needs now to respond to this VUCA environment is visionaries. What the world needs now is artists. Now more than ever. The world needs our artistry, our imagination, our creativity at the center of our individual, corporate, and public lives. Artists are informants. They know stuff, right? And usually they know stuff way ahead of the masses. Art is an informant. Art is an armature. And if we're really conscious and intentional, art and artists can become agents of change, agents of transformation, agents of innovation, of redemption, of renewal. Now, these artists that I'm talking about are not running around with paintbrushes, okay, or dance shoes, right? They're not the ones with the instruments. I mean, we are talking about them, but we're also talking about artists in the sense of, how we show up for our professional lives, right? The doctors and the nurses we see, okay? The folks who are there serving us at the grocery store. The folks who serve us at the food bank to ensure that we all have bread on our table, that we all have enough feed to eat. The folks who work at the greenhouses, all right? Who work on the front lines. The folks who work behind the scenes to make sure that our supply chain works as it's supposed to work. These are the folks who deliver blood, come rain or snow or sleet or hail, right? The folks who find a way when times are normal and when times are difficult or unpredictable. These are the folks who find a way to keep on keeping on. The folks who hang in there. The ones who persevere. The ones who follow the energy of hope. The ones who follow the energy of yes. These are the artists I'm talking about. These are the ones who change the word impossible to I'm possible. These are the folks whose first name is can and whose last name is do, right? You know these folks. So as you go about your day to day, as you prepare for the rest of your week, I want you to ask yourself one question. And here's the question. What's working ya? Because what's working ya is exactly what needs to come into fruition now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but right now. What's working yet is your vision. A vision that if it came to you, it can only come through you. Right? Now remember, how you live is how you lead. If you can lead with perseverance, with creative perseverance, you will be equipped to lead in any circumstance. All right? Okay. If you learned something today, be sure to tell somebody. Okay? I want you to share the wealth. Share it with your friends, your family, co-workers, so they can be lifted up and inspired and equipped just like you. One of the biggest gifts you can give to someone else is to use your talents, your gifts, your signature presence that exists nowhere else on the planet. Right? And I want you to ask yourself, how will I use my artistry to reimagine my neighborhood, to reimagine my home, my classroom, or my team, or my pediatric practice, or my Chamber of Commerce? How can I provide a lifeline to someone else, maybe even someone I may never know? And remember, whatever is working yet is your invitation to step into your vision so that you can make a difference in your own life and in the lives of others. As we continue to celebrate the marvelous, majestic music of your life, I also want to celebrate you for making your life count. Be sure to join me next time. Now, if you missed last week's podcast or any part of this week's, you can listen to the recording at your convenience. You can even listen to it on the go. Check it out on iTunes, Audible, Alexa, SoundCloud, iHeart, TuneIn, Spreaker.com, Talk Network Radio, and so many other places. Or you can tune in right here to www.talknetworkradio.com/hosts/legacy living. That's talknetworkradio.com/hosts/legacy living. You can also find me on the TEDx site and listen to one of my TED Talks. Just type in my name to find me there. Now, before I close today, I want to thank each of you for tuning in to today's show, for allowing me to share a bit about my journey with what legacy living is all about. Not just living and learning, but living and learning and serving so that you make a difference in your own life and in the lives of others. It's about being on purpose every single day, 365, 24/7. Legacy living is a powerful way to make your life count. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess. Please join me again next time, right here, for another podcast of Legacy Living, Make Your Life Count. Don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Have a fantastic day, and remember, make the days in your life count. God bless you. That's our show today. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Burgess. I hope you'll join me again next time. Until then, don't just count the days in your life. Make the days in your life count. That's what legacy living is all about. Here's to you. Have a fantastic day, and be sure to make it a yes kind of day. Remember to celebrate the music of your life. Make the days in your life count.